What makes a man a legend? Is it the roles he plays, the tragedies he endures, or the kindness that echoes louder than fame itself? Keanu Reeves is one of those rare figures in Hollywood who defies every stereotype. He is a blockbuster action hero who would rather take the subway than ride in a limousine. He is a man who has walked through fire, personal loss, heartbreak, and crushing loneliness, yet emerged with grace, humility, and a quiet smile that seems to carry both pain and peace. Some call him the Internet's saint. Others call him the last true gentleman of Hollywood. But behind the memes, behind the sunglasses of Neo and the sharp suit of John Wick, lies a story far richer, far stranger, and far more human than most of us realize. Tonight, in this journey through shadows and light, we'll peel back the curtain on the life of Keanu Reeves. We'll uncover the battles, the triumphs, and yes, the myths, because Keanu's story isn't just about Hollywood, it's about resilience, kindness, and what it means to be human in a world that often forgets. So sit back, relax, and let's step into the extraordinary, heartbreaking, and inspiring life of Keanu Reeves. Keanu Charles Reeves was born on September 2nd, 1964, in Beirut, Lebanon. His heritage was already a story of movement and contrasts. A Hawaiian father with Chinese ancestry, an English mother with a flair for costume design. From the very beginning, his life was set on a path of constant change. His father, Samuel, left the family when Keanu was just 3 years old. That absence carved a wound that never truly healed. His mother, Patricia, raised him with strength, but also with the weight of instability. They moved like nomads, first to Sydney, then to New York, and finally settling, at least for a while, in Toronto. Toronto became a strange kind of home. It was there that Keanu discovered two things that would shape him: hockey and performance. On the ice, he was fierce, earning the nickname The Wall as a goalie. Off the ice, he was quiet, reflective, a boy who sometimes seemed lost in another world. But even as a child, there were whispers of rebellion. Neighbors recall a young Keanu building a skateboard out of spare wood and sneaking out at night to race down the steep hills of his neighborhood, chasing freedom under the stars. School wasn't his strong suit. He struggled with dyslexia, often feeling out of place in classrooms. One teacher told him bluntly, "You'll never be an actor, Keanu." And Keanu, in his soft but determined way, replied, "We'll see." It was the kind of moment that seemed small at the time, but looking back, it feels prophetic. His bond with his mother was complicated. She was creative, full of life, but also carried her own demons. As she worked in show business, Keanu was exposed to artists, musicians, and a world where reinvention was the rule. The constant flux of stepfathers and family changes only deepened his sense of impermanence. Yet in that chaos, Keanu found something stable: stories. Whether through comic books, theater scripts, or movies, he discovered a doorway to escape, to transform, to imagine. And in that, he found a calling. Before Keanu Reeves became the face of billion-dollar franchises, he was just a kid with dreams and a goalie's reflexes. But when a knee injury dashed his hopes of a hockey career, he turned to acting almost by accident. He began with school plays, stumbling over lines, but finding joy in the rhythm of performance. Acting wasn't just an activity, it was freedom, a chance to escape himself and become someone else, if only for a moment. Toronto gave him small opportunities: local theater, TV spots, even a Coca-Cola commercial where he played. You guessed it, a hockey player. But Keanu wasn't satisfied with being local. He wanted more. And so, like so many dreamers before him, he headed south to Los Angeles. The story goes that he drove there in an old Volvo, stuffed with little more than clothes, cassette tapes, and restless ambition. He was barely 20 years old, carrying nothing but hope. There are stories, half legend, half truth, of how Keanu rehearsed Shakespeare monologues in an abandoned movie theater, projecting his voice into the dust and shadows. Supposedly, he even sent an application to a prestigious London drama school, but the letter was lost in the mail, sealing his fate as a Hollywood outsider rather than a classically trained actor. By the mid-1980s, Keanu started landing roles in television and small films. He wasn't polished, but there was something magnetic about him, something raw, authentic, almost vulnerable. That vulnerability would soon carry him into his first big break. The mid-1980s were a turning point. Keanu's breakout came with River's Edge, 1986, a haunting indie drama about disaffected youth. Critics noticed him, not as a star yet, but as a serious actor capable of depth. But then came the movie that would define his image for years, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, 1989. As Ted Theodore Logan, Keanu embodied the goofy, lovable, whoa, dude archetype that audiences adored. The film became a cult hit, cementing him as a rising star, but also trapping him in a stereotype. The truth was, Keanu was nothing like Ted. Behind the scenes, he was contemplative, serious, a young man already wrestling with questions of existence and meaning. Some say he even hesitated to take the role, thinking it was too silly, too shallow. But in the end, he accepted, and in doing so, he found himself both celebrated and misunderstood. Still, he pressed forward. Roles in Parenthood, 1989, and My Own Private Idaho, 1991, showed his range. In Idaho, alongside River Phoenix, Keanu delivered a performance that critics still praise as one of his finest, sensitive, brave, unflinching. His bond with River became one of the most important friendships of his life. It was clear Keanu wasn't just another pretty face. He was searching for truth in every character he played. The early 90s transformed Keanu into something Hollywood had never expected, an action hero. In Point Break, 1991, he played Johnny Utah, an FBI agent infiltrating a gang of surfer thieves led by Patrick Swayze. The film was wild, kinetic, and unforgettable. Keanu held his own against Swayze, delivering charm, intensity, and a touch of spiritual curiosity that made the film iconic. But nothing could prepare him or the world for Speed, 1994. Cast as Jack Traven, the LAPD officer trying to stop a bus rigged with explosives, Keanu catapulted into global superstardom. The film was a smash hit, and suddenly he was everywhere. And yet, unlike many stars, Keanu never chased the spotlight. He was shy at red carpets, polite with fans, and oddly humble about his own success. Rumors swirled that he once saved a stuntman during filming, pulling him away from a dangerous explosion. Whether true or not, the story only added to his growing mythos. At the height of his fame, when other actors were buying mansions and flaunting luxury, Keanu kept things simple. He was said to live in a modest apartment, riding his motorcycle around Los Angeles like an ordinary guy. For him, success wasn't about wealth. It was about survival, about art, about meaning. But Keanu's greatest role and his greatest trials were still ahead. By the late 1990s, Keanu Reeves had already proven himself as both a thoughtful actor and a bankable star. But then came a project that would change cinema forever, The Matrix, 1999. The Wachowskis, relatively unknown at the time, had a radical vision. A cyberpunk action film infused with philosophy, martial arts, and groundbreaking special effects. Studio executives doubted it. Many actors turned down the role of Neo, the reluctant savior of humanity. But Keanu saw something in it, a mix of action, spirituality, and destiny. He said yes. The preparation was brutal. Months of martial arts training, wire work, endless choreography. Keanu embraced it fully, often training through injuries. Cast and crew recall him practicing even during breaks, determined to make every movement authentic. The film's release was an earthquake. The Matrix redefined action cinema and turned Keanu into an icon of cool. The black trench coat, the bullet time sequences, the philosophical undertones, everything about Neo resonated with a new generation. But what made the story even more remarkable was Keanu himself. Famously, he gave away tens of millions of his earnings to the visual effects and costume teams, insisting they deserved it more than he did. He downplayed his generosity, but the gesture spread through Hollywood like wildfire. There's even a story, half real, half legend, that during dinner with the Wachowskis, Keanu asked them to explain the philosophy of the film. Instead of words, they poured tea, bent spoons, and asked him to imagine a world where reality itself could not be trusted. Keanu listened silently, then simply said, "I'm in." With The Matrix, Keanu became more than a movie star. He became a cultural myth. Yet behind the cinematic triumphs, Keanu's personal life was marked by unimaginable tragedy. In the late 1990s, he found love with actress Jennifer Syme. Their relationship was tender, full of hope. In 1999, they were expecting a child, but fate was cruel. The baby girl, Ava, was stillborn. The loss devastated them both. A year later, Jennifer herself died in a tragic car accident. Keanu was shattered. Friends recall him withdrawing, carrying his grief with a quiet dignity. He never publicly spoke much about it, but those close to him say the pain never left. This wasn't his first encounter with loss. In 1993, his closest friend, River Phoenix, died of a drug overdose outside the Viper Room in Los Angeles. Keanu was filming Speed at the time, and the news broke him. River wasn't just a co-star. He was like a brother. The pain of that loss, combined with Jennifer's death, shaped Keanu's worldview. Life is fragile, fleeting, precious. Rumors swirl that during one particularly dark period, Keanu disappeared for weeks, living quietly in a monastery, meditating in silence. Whether true or not, it fits the man, one who seeks peace, not spectacle, in the face of suffering. These shadows could have destroyed him. Instead, they deepened him. His characters began to carry a weight, a sense of lived sorrow, and audiences felt it. By the early 2000s, Keanu's career seemed uncertain. He'd had successes, but also flops. Hollywood whispered that he was past his prime. Then came John Wick, 2014. At first, it looked like just another revenge thriller. But when Keanu put on that black suit, stepped into the role of a retired assassin, avenging the death of his dog, something electric happened. The film was raw, stylish, and surprisingly emotional. Fans saw not just violence, but a man carrying grief and relentless determination. John Wick wasn't just a character, he was Keanu, distilled into myth. The film's success was explosive. It birthed a franchise, revitalized his career, and cemented him once again as an action legend. Behind the scenes, Keanu trained tirelessly, performing nearly all of his own stunts, immersing himself in gunplay, martial arts, and driving sequences. There's a legend that the name John Wick came from Keanu himself after he wandered through an old cemetery and saw the name carved into a weathered tombstone. Whether or not that's true, the role became one of the defining chapters of his life. With Wick, Keanu wasn't just back, he was immortal. But perhaps what makes Keanu Reeves truly extraordinary isn't his roles. It's his humanity. Despite fame, despite fortune, he remains startlingly humble. He rides the subway, often giving up his seat to strangers. He's been photographed eating lunch alone on a park bench, lost in thought. An image that became the viral sad Keanu meme. Stories of his kindness are endless. He once bought breakfast for a homeless man and sat with him, listening to his stories. He quietly funds children's hospitals and cancer research, often anonymously. Crew members tell tales of him giving away bonuses, motorcycles, or just his time, treating everyone as equals. One tale, perhaps exaggerated, claims that Keanu anonymously donated a fortune to restore an old library in Toronto, the very one where he used to hide and read as a boy. True or not, it feels right. In an industry built on ego, Keanu's humility feels almost alien, and that's why people love him, not just as an actor, but as a person. As Keanu Reeves enters the later chapters of his career, one thing is clear. He is more than a movie star. He is a symbol. To some, he is Neo, the savior of humanity. To others, he is John Wick, the relentless warrior. To millions, he is simply Keanu, the kind, gentle soul who reminds us that decency still exists in the world. He is a man who has endured profound loss, yet never let it turn him bitter. A man who reached the heights of fame, yet never abandoned humility. A man who has been called both the loneliest star and the nicest guy in Hollywood. And somehow, both are true. His legacy isn't just the films. It's the way he makes people feel, inspired, comforted, reminded that even in the darkest times, we can choose kindness. Keanu Reeves is not perfect. He's not a saint. But in a world hungry for authenticity, his life, marked by shadows and light, shines as a reminder that greatness is not just about what you achieve, but how you live. And that, perhaps, is the greatest role he will ever play. And so, as the credits of this story roll, one truth remains. Keanu Reeves is more than a legend. He is proof that kindness and resilience matter, that even in the harsh spotlight of fame, you can choose to live with humility, grace, and heart. If his story has inspired you, reminded you, or even just entertained you, then take that spirit with you. Share it. Live it. And if you'd like to hear more journeys like this, more lives between shadows and light, make sure to follow and subscribe to Story Vault. Because here, every story matters. And the next one might just change the way you see the world. You've just listened to another story from Story Vault, a place where lives, legends, and moments are kept alive. If this journey spoke to you, if it made you think, smile, or see the world a little differently, do me a favor. Tap that like button and subscribe to the channel. Because here at Story Vault, there's always another story waiting to be told. And I'd love to share it with you. Until next time, keep your curiosity alive. And I'll see you in the next story.